Hello and welcome to Catholic Answers Live. I am Cy Kelly, your host. Delighted to be here with you. We've got 2 hours of Ask Me Anything with Joe Heschmeyer today. And Joe is so popular that the lines just start to fill up early now. He's become Mr. Popularity. So if you have a question about the Catholic faith, whether you're Catholic or not, you are welcome to call 888-318-7884. We're going to I'll be honest with you, we're going to have a little fun before we get to the phone calls.
Can I say something? We're here with another person.
Yes. You can
Catholic
say
Answers President Chris Check.
Catholic Answers President Chris Check is here with us.
Usually, when I see both of you, it means it's flannel panel.
And
so
you thought it was.
I thought I must have misremembered. And you sent a flannel panel email earlier that I barely skimmed, and so all the pieces were lining up for. And it wouldn't be the first time I forgot to wear a flannel shirt on flannel panel, and then this time it would have just been 0 for 3.
So if we had started the show, and if I had just started the show and said it's flannel panel, you would have thought, oh, I just missed something. You would have
exactly. I would
completely thought it was your fault.
I don't know how much prep you think I do for flannel panel.
No, you know exactly how much prep I think you do for flannel panel.
So that would have been fine.
The number is 888-318-7884. We are going to get to your questions, but Chris Check is here mostly, I think, to mediate between the two of us, because of all the 7 deadly sins, the one I least worry about is envy. But I envy you today, Joe. I am suffering envy of Joe Heschmeyer.
It's a good kind of envy.
It's because I am the number one fan of the Boston Celtics. The number one fan of the Boston Celtics. And you know what I'm about to tell you, don't you?
I do. I just learned about it this afternoon.
I was watching the game.
Joe got drafted by the Boston Celtics.
He did not get drafted. If he did, I'm no longer a fan of the Boston Celtics. They've lost their minds. No, I love the Boston Celtics, and I still have my Kyrie Irving Boston Celtics shirt. I'm completely, if you played for the Celtics, you're always my friend forever, even though you don't know me. And so my good friend,
Beautiful.
my best friend, my best buddy, he doesn't know me, he's never met me, Gordon Hayward, one of the finest basketball players of his generation. I mean, really magnificent on the basketball court. He came back to the Catholic Church. And did he say, oh, I love Cy Kellett on Catholic Answers? No, he did not say that. He said, I'm gonna read it to you. They asked him on an interview on the Catholic Exchange. And the author, by the way, is Trent Beatty. Or Beatty. I'm not sure how he pronounces it, but I would say Beatty. Trent, you did a fine job in this article, but I'm mad at you. And so never call me for a quote. This is what Trent asked Gordon Hayward, one of the finest basketball players of his generation. Have any books on the body of Christ, the church, or the body of Christ, the Holy Eucharist, been helpful in your conversion? He doesn't even miss a beat. The Eucharist is Really Jesus by Joe Heschmeyer has been very instrumental.
Hooray!
What? Come on, man.
That's beautiful.
Wait,
I was honored when I found out about this, and I have to be honest, I barely know who Kyrie Irving is. So I'm like the person who is the worst positioned. I was really, I'm embarrassed by my lack of basketball knowledge. So I'm very glad you can appreciate the man's professional acumen and achievements, because
Cy, read the whole couple of sentences.
I'm going to read some more because
okay.
Joe wrote the book, The Eucharist is Really Jesus. Joe's written a lot of great books, really great books. But The Eucharist is Really Jesus was for the big year of where we were doing the Eucharistic, getting ready for the big Eucharistic Congress. And so this is what Gordon Hayward, one of the greatest basketball players of his generation, said about Joe. He said that the book, The Eucharist is Really Jesus, is one that helped at his conversion. It's been instrumental, he said. Protestants tend to have a very casual, vague reading of the Bible passages in the Gospel of John, chapter 6. Catholics, on the other hand, take our Lord at his word. He said repeatedly and emphatically that this is my body. Even when people left him, he still persisted in his statement about what we now call the real presence, or how the bread and wine are changed into the body and blood of our Lord. The title of this is Gordon Hayward speaking. The title
I couldn't
quite
describe the book
you
better.
couldn't write this better. The title of the book says it all. The Eucharist is really Jesus. The central belief of our faith explains all the other beliefs. It's the highest of the sacraments. It's why we kneel in silence at the consecration. It's why we prepare our souls to receive Holy Communion worthily. It's why we've built magnificent churches over centuries and oh my God, this guy is beautiful. This is a beautiful testament. Over centuries and composed beautiful hymns like Pange lingua.
Pange lingua.
I just want to make sure I got my Latin right.
Triangulingua.
Sung especially on Holy Thursday and the Feast of the Corpus Christi.
He didn't say
no, he didn't say that. He could have. He certainly could have. He just hasn't been exposed to the St. Louis Jesuits.
Can I say three things?
Yes, please.
First, I want to say congratulations.
Yes, Joe. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's absolutely.
I mean, it seems very clear that just seeing Christ in the Eucharist is what really drew him. But I'm happy to get the assist if that's a coherent basketball metaphor.
And actually,
Gordon
Joe,
Hayward, who averaged more than 10 assists a game at some points in his career.
It's very apt.
Yeah.
But actually, Joe, that's a perfect answer because your success here in helping Gordon is because of your yes to the Holy Spirit, to the work we do here at Catholic Answers, and it's borne so much fruit. So congratulations. The second thing I want to say is that we know about Gordon Hayward because he's a celebrity revert or convert back to the Catholic faith.
Right.
The people we don't know about are the thousands of other people who've read Joe's book and have brought them back or to a deeper relationship with Jesus Christ in the Eucharist. And I'm not kidding when I say thousands. We're going to meet some of them here, and many of them on the other side of the veil. The third thing I want to say is if you are an NBA basketball player.
I know what he's going to do. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, who is struggling with some kind of, let's just not say the Eucharist, but any Catholic doctrine, and you call the show, we're going to give you a free book today.
Oh, we're giving free books to NBA players. I thought he was going to pitch for donations from NBA players.
I think that goes without saying. But Cy, actually, you know what? I'm just going to open it up to the 4 major league sports. Okay, so if
all 4 major league sports. So wait. Just let me. Baseball, football, basketball, lacrosse. Anybody?
There you go.
Okay.
Soccer.
And are we doing WNBA as well as NBA?
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Sure. We're very open-minded here. So Catholic, we're very ecumenical. Yeah. So if you played Little League, right? Or whatever it was, club soccer, and
who's the pitcher for the Pirates that told us he became a pitcher because he couldn't run, and he's a Catholic. What's his name? Why are you looking at me?
No, he doesn't pitch for the Pirates anymore.
But he pitched for the Pirates.
He pitches for Washington now. Trevor
Williams.
Trevor Williams. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Which I have a hard time believing.
He could get a free book from us?
I think he probably already has all our books.
They can't run because they have peg legs.
The Pirates?
Yeah.
Joe, you're doing really well today.
Yeah.
This is a big day for you.
I know a lot about
Maybe
sports,
just stop those kind of things.
Yes. If you have been brought back to the Catholic faith by something Catholic Answers did, and you once played a sport.
Yeah, if you've ever played a sport,
we're going to give you
we'll give you a free book when you call it today. 888-318-7884. There is actually one line open. Joe, this wouldn't kind of stab me in the heart if this was a Laker. You know, like if you this guy was a Celtic, and he's praising you, and you don't even care. You don't even get how great the
honored.
Celtics are.
It would just be like, so my brother lives in Spain, and the second or third highest rated chess player in the world lives in his apartment complex, and they're friends now. And my brother's like a big chess fan, so this was like meeting a huge celebrity for him.
Yeah.
And I have to look up his name every single time. But I mentioned this
He's
story.
your brother, for crying out loud.
You don't know his name? You don't know your brother's name?
It ends in Heschmeyer. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, so you don't know anything except the Bible and the Catechism, is what you're saying.
I like crossword puzzles and trivia, so you'd think I'd be really well versed on sports. But
so you're saying
just get a good trivia team that one other person knows sports better than I do, and I know football. I just don't know everything. Football, I have time for. Other sports, they have too many games. I
got to say though, as far as Gordon Hayward goes, his way of expressing the faith is beautiful. Like
it's quite articulate.
It's really beautiful. Yep. Like that's the faith that he's expressing right there. That's what it means to be a Catholic.
If Gordon Hayward calls in today, we'll give him 2 books.
2 books for Gordon Hayward.
Yes.
All right. His wife, Robin, is a cradle Catholic. She never left the Catholic Church. So how many books does she get if she goes?
We'll send the whole library to the Haywards. The whole Catholic Answers library.
This is kind of a Matthew 13:12 approach, for to whom much is given, will have abundance, but to who he has not, even when he has, will be taken away.
But anyways, Chris, it was gracious of you to come in here, and
I do want
because I wanted to talk about this with Joe, but I didn't want to talk about it with Joe because a Boston Celtic is talking about how great Joe is. So it's driving me crazy.
Okay, may I congratulate you for the restraint and charity that you showed?
Isn't that beautiful?
It was beautiful.
Thank you.
My friends, if you want 12 days of restraint and charity, join Joe Heschmeyer and Cy Kellett on the Rhine River next May.
We should invite the Haywards to come with us.
I think they're coming. I think they've signed up.
Oh, signed up. You're lying. He is just lying.
He's just trying to get everybody else to sign up.
If you want to meet the look, I'll tell you what. We'll invite them. Yeah, we'll see.
We'll invite them. Okay. All right.
CruiseCatholic.com, the Catholic Rhineland.
CatholicCruise.com.
CatholicCruise.com.
Yeah.
The Catholic Rhineland. So much wonderful history here. You know, I know we've talked about St. Boniface, for example, Hildegard of Bingen, but we're going to stop in Aachen, which is where Charlemagne built the center of civilization.
That's right.
In the 9th century.
Brought the Irish over.
Yeah, he did, actually.
Yeah.
He did.
Brought the Irish over.
Alcuin.
To teach the French.
Alcuin, yeah. And something fascinating about Charlemagne is his sense of his, he was an heir to the Davidic patrimony.
Yeah, through the that the Roman emperors were also part of that.
Right.
Right.
So very much he thought of Aachen as a kind of a Jerusalem.
Oh, isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, and so there's and in fact some of the buildings that he built that still stand, the chapel I think, which is still there, replicates some of those churches in the Holy Land. So we'll talk about some of his thought there.
I didn't know that about Aachen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm learning a lot.
Yeah, there's so much. This is just like the most Catholic river, and you're going to spend the entire boat. Is owned by Catholic Answers for 12 days, 12 ports of call. Everything's included, all your meals and all the short excursions we've specially designed and curated to give you a sense of the Catholic Rhineland. So boat's a third full. I think it's a little more than a third full. And this is all the way 10 months away. So my friends, don't delay signing up. CatholicCruise.com.
I'm going to put Josh in Cleveland on. Josh, I heard you have a very important question before we let Chris go.
I do, yes. It's one I've been burning. It's a burning question I wanted to ask you guys. If the 12 Apostles and the 85-86 Celtics faced off in a basketball game,
yes,
who would win? And what would the Apostles' starting five be? And I'll take my answer off the air.
Okay. Well, this question I can do, because the Apostles, as wonderful and great as they are, they didn't have a big three, and that's the thing is who are they going to put up against?
I mean, I think St. Paul claimed they did. He called them the Pillars.
Yeah, but they were not men of great stature, physical stature.
Maybe metaphorically.
They were they were not men of a great physical stature. So I'm going to go with the 85-86 Celtics. That's the team that had Bill Walton on it as well.
Yeah.
So maybe if you could bring Judas back, he could guard Bill Walton. I don't know, but. All right, we'll take a quick break. Right back with Joe Heschmeyer. Ask Me Anything, Catholic Answers Live.
Hang on. Catholic Answers Live will return in a moment.
Are you a coffee drinker? If so, you can now enjoy a coffee roasted to perfection by the Carmelite monks of Wyoming. Delicious Mystic Monk coffee is roasted and prepared by monks in a hidden cloistered monastery and is available in over 25 varieties. All Mystic Monk coffees are works of perfection and labors of love. For more information on how to purchase Mystic Monk coffee, visit mysticmonkcoffee.com. That's mysticmonkcoffee.com.
Underwriting for Catholic Answers Live is provided by Real Estate for Life. Real Estate for Life connects home buyers and sellers to real estate agents while supporting pro-life organizations. On the web at realestateforlife.org.
The most original and exclusive Catholic content is on EWTN Radio.
I'm continually amazed and humbled at the way God can work through me to help so many people. Although I have no idea what the callers' questions will be that day, I trust that the Holy Spirit can use my education and experience to guide, challenge, or comfort those who call.
Mast Appeal with Colleen Kelly Mast. Saturday morning, 9 Eastern on EWTN Radio.
Welcome back. Catholic Answers Live. If you are not aware, the 85-86 Celtics are the greatest basketball team ever assembled. Just clarifying that in case you weren't aware of that. Joe Heschmeyer is our guest. One line open, so we're going to get right to the phones and let people ask their questions. It's Ask Me Anything with Joe Heschmeyer. 888-318-7884. Pat is in Boise, Idaho. Pat, thanks for waiting. Go ahead with your question for Joe.
Very interesting conversations you were having.
Do you mean that sarcastically, or was it actually interesting?
No, well, I don't know anything about the Boston Celtics, so don't even ask
it's
me.
your loss, Pat. It's your loss. All right.
What I want to ask you about is I'd like to find a reasonably small article, if I could, that I could use to share with other people about the scientific studies that have been done of the Eucharist when there has been a miracle. And I know something about it myself, or at least I've investigated it, but I haven't really found anything in writing that is shareable with other people. It's just goes on, and nobody's going to look at something very long. But I would like to know if you know of something that I could use for that purpose, that describes the painstaking review, especially the DNA and so on, of the miracles.
There's a book that Stacy Trasankos and Father G.T. Elliott, Father George Elliott in Tyler, Texas, wrote together called Behold, It Is I, Scripture, Tradition, and Science on the Real Presence of Christ in the Eucharist. And, Father Elliott is a trained theologian, and Stacy Trasankos is a trained scientist who's also, I think, currently taking courses in philosophy as well. And so it's a good kind of pairing of skill sets. So as memory serves, they go through several different Eucharistic miracles in that book, and it's only part of the book. So part of the book lays a pretty traditional explanation for why we believe that Jesus Christ is truly in the Eucharist. And but then they also, one of the things I think makes their book fairly unique is that they then take the scientific kind of approach, and I think a very fair scientific approach. There are some purported Eucharistic miracles they're more skeptical of, and others that they think have a stronger claim to authenticity, because we're not required to believe every purported miracle is a miracle. But there are some where it seems overwhelmingly clear that it is in fact miraculous. So yeah, it's not an article; it's part of a book. But if you got that, I think you could at least pass around a couple chapters of a book, and hopefully someone would be able to make the time to read that. Would that, do you think, satisfy the what you're looking for?
Interest, that they're not. I don't know if they'll sit down and read a book, but I want to make sure I have the citation. It's Father Elliott, and what is the name of the book?
Behold, It Is I.
I wrote it down. I'm sorry?
Oh, okay. Yeah, Behold, It Is I is the name of the book, and then the subtitle is Scripture, Tradition, and Science.
Okay. Yep. Do you know of any other articles that might be about?
I've seen various offhand. I couldn't give you good citations for just article titles on it. But I think if you look up Eucharistic miracles, I know Carlo Acutis, it's going to be St. Carlo Acutis, did some work compiling Eucharistic miracles. I'm sure all of his stuff is in Italian, but there are things available online.
That's a 15-year-old that you're talking about?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. If it's in Italian, it's not going to do me any good.
Well, actually, it looks like I just looked, and it looks like there is an English version. I don't know how in depth it goes for all of these things, but it has a list of all the different Eucharistic miracles.
There's a Mysterious World on Eucharistic miracles.
Would they listen to a podcast?
They might, yes. Do you have a podcast that I could refer to?
Yeah, so Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World.
Episode 220.
Oh, thank you.
Jimmy, I'm going to write it down. Jimmy Akin's, and what is it again?
Mysterious World.
Mysterious World, episode 220.
Okay, and he's talking about this?
Yes, that's a whole episode about Eucharistic miracles. Yes.
Oh, I want to go. I want to listen. That sounds like a good reference. Yeah. Okay, Eucharistic mysterious world. Okay. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And I love Catholic Answers. And I would like you to know I was a cradle Catholic, but I had gone away for a while. And Catholic Answers had a great deal to do with my coming back to the church.
Oh, Pat, praise God. Thank you.
I support you to this day.
Thank you very much. Wonderful. Can we send you anything about the Celtics?
I don't know anything about the Celtics.
All right.
Would you like a book on anything Catholic related or about the Boston Celtics?
Pat, I'll tell you what, since I'm a smart aleck, I'll send you Joe's book, The Eucharist is Really Jesus, if you'd like it. All you got to do is wait on the line. We'll get an address. We'll send it up to Boise, Idaho. And Joe, you know why I love saying Boise, Idaho, don't you?
No.
Because I pronounce it correctly. Oh, well, I love Salt and Light Radio.
You don't say Boise?
No.
You say Boise?
I say Boise, yeah. So I feel so proud of myself. I need something to make me feel good today, Joe. Let's go to Maggie in Iowa.
I mean, look, Pat clearly liked your recommendation better than mine. I feel like you should feel good about that.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
She was like, books are too hard. And you said, how about a podcast? And she said, that's a good recommendation. I think those were her exact words. So
thank you for building me up, Joe. That makes me
We're 1-1.
I feel better about myself. All right, Maggie in Iowa, thank you for waiting. Maggie watching on YouTube. Go ahead with your question.
Hi. So my sister is getting married next year, and she was confirmed in the Catholic Church, has never practiced at all, and she's not getting married in the church. And I have already had a conversation with her about why I wouldn't be able to attend, which was a hard conversation, but she was very understanding and said, like, she understands I'm doing it out of love. It was very good. She's invited me to her reception, and this is where I guess my question comes in is, would it be okay to go to the reception? I understand why it wouldn't be, but this also very much feels like her holding out an olive branch that I would hate to slap away. So I guess I'm just kind of torn on what to do.
It's a very good layers of prudence there. And this is the tricky part. So it used to be that we were just forbidden under canon law to attend invalid marriages, like marriages we knew to be invalid. That is no longer a blanket rule. And so it creates this somewhat uncomfortable situation of having to discern what's the best thing to do in each situation, because you can't celebrate the sin. You can't celebrate someone doing something that might put them further away from God. There is nevertheless the ability to show to your sister that you love her in spite of, like, she's not going to take it as you think this is okay. It sounds like you've already made yourself very clear.
Yeah.
And so there's some risk of scandal that other people might think that you think it's okay. But chances are anyone who knows you well enough to know you're Catholic probably also knows you weren't at the wedding and just came to the reception if you go that route. The other thing that can make this, so I don't know all of the details in this particular case, but if it's the kind of thing that could be a valid marriage, the church does offer in some cases what's called a radical sanation, a healing of the roots. And so this could be a moment where if she comes back into right relationship with the church, assuming that this is a valid or a potentially valid marriage, she's getting married to a man who's not already married, then in that case, like, it is possible that the church will say, so radical sanation, as I said, healing of the roots, retroactively validates your marriage. That even though you didn't have permission to get married outside the church originally, that permission is kind of retroactively applied, so that it is a healing moment for a lot of people, and they don't have to have questions about, like, are their children born out of wedlock or any of those kind of questions, and they can keep their original anniversary and all that. So given that, I've heard people argue that as long as there's no other impediment, and it's just a case that this person isn't getting married in the church because they can't in good faith claim they're going to bring children up in the church because they're not practicing, that because this could be healed in the future and this moment can become this moment of grace, that they've attended on those grounds. It's something that's ultimately for your own discretion. I think not attending the wedding itself is prudent. I think attending in the situation you described, I think this woman could easily come out on either side of that, and I don't think you would be making an obvious error to attend the reception. having made your position pretty clear, and then going just to show your sister that you continue to love her and support her and want good things for her.
Okay, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's a great comfort to hear that.
Good.
Yeah, so thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, it sounded like maybe there was a follow-up coming there, so I was letting you go. But if not, I will let the line go. But hang on.
I didn't know how you were going to finish that when you said letting you go for
let you
not
go on
letting you go.
But Maggie, I want to give you a book because Chris Check said anyone who has ever played sports gets a free book today in honor of Gordon Hayward of the Boston Celtics. Have you ever played any kind of sport, Maggie?
I played basketball.
Boom! That's it. That's the sport.
That's even the
All
very
right,
sport.
hang on. Give Maggie a book. We'll be right back with more Joe Heschmeyer. We hope that one of the things that we communicate here at Catholic Answers Live is that our Catholic faith allows us to be fully serious about all the problems we encounter in the church and in the world, but it also lets us have light hearts and maybe even mix in a bit of fun, and that is exactly what our good friend Joe Heschmeyer does in his popular podcast, Shameless Popery. You should check it out at shamelessjoe.com. Joe's got a deep grasp of the faith, morals, the teachings of the church, all that, but he's also got a witty conversational style. He entertains and he informs, but you will leave equipped to better answer the most common challenges, misconceptions, and questions about the Catholic faith. He's got insightful guests, he does on-air debates, and he takes a close look into all the things that you want to know about as a Catholic living today. You'll walk away knowledgeable and filled with joy. Look for Joe on his YouTube channel. Check him out at shamelessjoe.com or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you like what you hear, become a patron.
Our Lord needs articulate defenders of the truth to spread the joy of the Catholic faith. Catholic Answers monthly giving club, Society 315, helps you fulfill the call in 1 Peter 3:15 to always be prepared to make a defense for the hope that is in you. For as little as $10 a month, you'll help Catholics grow in faith, bring lapsed Catholics home, and lead non-Catholics to the truth. Go to casociety315.com and join today.
Each Catholic is obliged to spread and defend the faith by word and deed. Well, we're here to help. Join special guests Chris Stefanik, Dr. David Anders, Steve Dawson, and all your favorite Catholic Answers apologists this September 25th through 28th in beautiful San Diego for the Catholic Answers Conference. Our theme? Go make disciples. Enjoy 4 days of faith, fun, and fellowship. Use promo code EARLY to save $50 when you register today at CatholicAnswersConference.com. Welcome back, Catholic Answers Live. I am Cy Kellett, your host. Our guest is Joe Heschmeyer, and it's Ask Me Anything. All the lines are full, so we're going straight back to the phones. But we're going straight back to the phones after, because there's one thing even better than calling on the phone, and that is coming into the studio. And we have Jeff, who's a friend of Catholic Answers. We've seen you at the conferences. Anywhere, I know I've seen you around, but
you were at a St. Michael dinner.
Oh, yeah, and I saw you there.
Great.
Yeah, in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Welcome, Jeff. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you. Thank you.
And you're a Celtic fan?
No, go Thunder. Okay. Thunder up.
Wait, is that the direction Thunder goes?
That's what, when you win the world championship, it is.
I don't mind. It's okay, because I happen to like the Thunder, and Gordon Hayward.
He did play there.
He played for the Thunder. So since it's Gordon Hayward Day here, that's what I'm calling it now. I'm just going to call it Gordon Hayward Day here at Catholic Answers.
Need to mark it on the calendar. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we'll put that on. July 9th is Gordon Hayward Day. We'll do it. We'll mark it every year. It'll be something we do every year. All right, Jeff, you got a question for Joe?
Yes. First of all, Joe, I wanted to commend you on the podcast. I think you do an exceptional job, like setting the stage for the debates. A lot of us have no idea who these people are before you raise the issue, but just in a minute or two, you do a great job of like setting the stage and articulating the position to be discussed really well. And I appreciate that, and I know a lot of other people do. My question...
It's the hardest part, honestly, so I'm grateful to you.
And so... I have kind of a two-part question. It's about Melchizedek. About it seems to me kind of comes out of nowhere, and he pre-exists the Jews, and he seems more significant in some ways than the Jews. So sort of where did he come from? And then after that, what happens to the order of Melchizedek? Because we don't hear about it. It seems to diminish sort of the whole Levite and the priesthood of Aaron, because, and Paul associates him with Jesus, but then we don't know what happens to Melchizedek. So could you talk about where he comes from and then what happens to Melchizedek?
Let me just rephrase your question,
yes.
if I might.
Where did he come from? Where did he go?
Come on, man. Why don't you just let me get my joke off?
Glint in your eye.
Just that. I was going to be, where did he come from? Where did he go? Catholic Answers Joe. That's what I was going to say.
I should have let you do it. You had a better one.
Yes, but all right. Go ahead, answer the question now, and thanks for ruining.
So let me I'm sorry. Let me set the stage a little bit. I did that to Todd. I was over at his house for dinner, and then he started to tell a joke, and I guessed the punchline right before he finished this extremely long joke, and he was furious.
There's a name for that. Have you heard of the name for that?
I probably can't say it on the air.
No,
okay.
You can't.
Genesis 14 is where we're introduced to Melchizedek. And you're right. It is this very mysterious moment, because in verse 18, Abraham is returning from triumphing over some local kings. And we're just told, and Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. He was priest of God Most High. And he blessed Abraham and said, "Blessed be Abraham by God Most High, maker of heaven and earth, and blessed be God Most High, who's delivered your enemies into your hand." And then Abraham then tithes to him by giving him a tenth of everything. And then the king of Sodom, okay, so we'll just stop right there. So you just have this very mysterious encounter. And this is taken up later as a kind of messianic figure. So in Psalm 110, the Messiah is described as a priest forever according to the order of Melchizedek. And so these are just these two very mysterious moments in the Old Testament, and they don't make a lot of sense on their own. We're introduced to this guy very randomly. He has a kind of Tom Bombadil-like cameo, and then he just disappears. And
very good.
Oh, thank you. And in the New Testament, this becomes a lot clearer, that the Levitical priesthood is no longer going to be how priestly sacrifice works. That the Levitical priesthood is in many ways a response to the golden calf, and it's a response to the sin of the people. And it was a provisional response. And the ultimate response is not going to come through the Levitical priesthood, but rather through the order of Melchizedek. And so then you look at Melchizedek and you start to notice that the mysterious nature of him in a way points to the mysterious nature of God himself. And so Hebrews 7 makes this point. It says, "For this Melchizedek, king of Salem, priest of the God, of the Most High God," and by the way, king of Salem means king of peace. So already you have this Christ-sounding figure. "Priest of the Most High God, met Abraham returning from the slaughter of the kings and blessed him. And to him Abraham apportioned a tenth part of everything. He is first, by translation of his name, King of Righteousness." That's what Melchizedek means. And then he is also king of Salem, that is, king of peace. And then in verse 3 it says, "He is without father or mother or genealogy, and has neither beginning of days nor end of life. But resembling the Son of God, he continues a priest forever." So what do we make of that? Now, I don't think you have to read that as Hebrews 7 literally saying that there's like this immortal priest just walking the earth named Melchizedek, but rather that the mysterious nature of Melchizedek, where he takes on this priesthood which has no clear origins, it just arises out of nowhere. It seems to have already existed when Abraham just stumbles upon it, whereas the Levitical priesthood, we actually see God create it. It has a clear beginning, and it also has a clear end. It doesn't last forever. Christ fulfills what the Levitical priesthood existed for by offering a better sacrifice. So the Levitical priesthood has beginning and end. Melchizedek's priesthood, he doesn't. And so where does he come from? Maybe Salem, but it's a long walk to Israel from Oregon. So I don't know. I mean, he comes from a mysterious place, and he is intentionally without genealogy. Like the fact we know very little detail about him, and he just seems like this already existing figure that doesn't come into being or go out of being is one of the ways that he points to Jesus.
Do we think there's priest between Melchizedek and Jesus that's in the same order?
So before the creation of the Levitical priesthood, even individual men could offer sacrifice for their families. And this is one of the ways that Israel lived out being a nation of priests, which Exodus talks about. And so you have, like, if you remember the story of Cain and Abel, they both go to offer sacrifice. So the universal kind of nature of the priesthood of those who believe in God already actually existed. And so that is restricted because of sin in response to the golden calf. And only the tribe of Levi remains faithful. And so from then on, God demands that the other tribes offer sacrifice through the Levitical priests. But the idea that anyone can ordinarily offer sacrifice is actually built into even the nature of humanity. So in that sense, it's not totally unusual that someone should be offering sacrifice in some sense. What makes Melchizedek so unusual is, first, he's doing a bread and wine offering, which seems like it's prefiguring the Last Supper in the Eucharist. Second, he is this priest king, which again looks pretty Christ-like. And third, he blesses Abraham and Abraham tithes to him. Now, that is a very interesting detail because we know that the greater blesses the lesser, as Hebrews 7 points out. And also the fact that he's tithing to him, Abraham seems to recognize him as a priest with some amount of authority over him.
What do you think, Jeff?
As always, excellent answer by Joe.
All right, congratulations, Joe. You did it again.
Yeah.
Jeff, thanks for coming in. It's really
No
nice
problem.
to see you in
Thanks
here.
for having me, man.
See you in Tulsa sometime.
See you, absolutely.
As a matter of fact, I think I will be in Tulsa in December for St. Michael Radio.
Oh, you're going to be at the fundraiser?
I think so.
Sales go
I think
way
I will
up.
be too,
When I'm there.
Sales go way up when Sai's there.
Yeah, sales of liquor right
can't
before I speak.
Can't imagine.
People try to deal with it.
If both you're here, I can't imagine what will happen.
I don't imagine it, Jeff. All right, back to the phones we go. Daniel is in Colorado watching on YouTube. Thank you, Daniel. Go ahead with your question.
Yes. Hey, Joe. Hey, Sai.
Hello.
My question is if a laicized Catholic priest becomes an Anglican priest and celebrates the Eucharist using the Anglican liturgy, would he still validly conduct the Eucharist? For context, if it means anything, the branch of Anglicanism I'm talking about is the Anglican Church in North America, not the Episcopal one. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, so it's a good question. The three things you need for a valid sacrament are form, matter, and intent. So there would be a few potential wrinkles. I would put this in a dubious category. So let's work through it. Originally, when the Church of England goes into schism, they have valid sacraments. Henry VIII had been named defender of the seven sacraments by the Pope before the schism. And originally, Henry's not looking to upend the sacraments. So it is a schism and not a heresy. And so in that sense, it's more like the situation with Eastern Orthodoxy than it is like the situation with other forms of Protestantism. And so that's true at first. But then as Anglicanism goes on, you have these changes to the right, when what's called the Edwardian ordinal. And they change both the liturgy and they also change the sacramental or the sacramental rite for creating new priests for holy orders. And this is a problem in two ways. One, it means that you no longer are trying to do what the church is doing at Mass, because there's a push against transubstantiation. The 39 articles deride transubstantiation explicitly. And you also are not ordaining in Anglicanism priests to offer the sacrifice of the Mass. And this is pretty intentional. Even though they retain the name priest, the whole theology of the priesthood changes. And so at that point, they lose holy orders because they're not ordaining new Catholic priests. They're not ordaining new priests in that Catholic way. They're creating new Protestant ministers. And Protestant ministers don't, by that very fact, have the ability to celebrate Mass. And so there was an ongoing question, like, okay, well, they still call them priests. Do they have any kind of authority? And Pope Leo XIII said that the Anglican orders were absolutely null and utterly void. Just put it in the strongest possible language so that there won't be any question about it. And he explains all of what I've just kind of said there. That then leads to your current question. Somebody who is laicized is kind of the popular parlance for it. They're not literally, like, we can't undo the sacrament of holy orders because, very much related to the prior question, when you are ordained a priest in Christ, you become a priest forever according to the order of Melchizedek, like Christ. We can't, no earthly power could undo that. That is an ontological change in your soul. And so even when a priest is reduced to the lay state, we mean that in terms of canon law. He has the rights and duties of a layman, and he's prohibited from acting like a priest because of whatever reason, like he's rejected the priesthood or something. In those cases, he's still a priest sacramentally. And so laicization and defrocking and all of those are these not perfectly accurate terms, because they're not addressing this underlying spiritual reality. So if such a man were to leave the Catholic Church and join an Anglican church and then not celebrate like the Catholic Mass, but celebrate an Anglican liturgy, it seems like there would be a very difficult question there, because the question would involve the particular rite used by the Anglican Church of North America. And without knowing all of the details there, I don't know how much they have severed the historic Eucharistic theology that would render it invalid. Because again, remember, before, the problems were twofold, that they'd changed the Mass, and they'd also changed the right for the priesthood. And so without a priesthood and without a valid Mass, you don't have a valid Eucharist. You need both of those things. In this case, you have a valid priesthood because of his Catholic priesthood. I'm not sure, without knowing more details about the ins and outs of the Anglican Church of North America, I'm not sure that you have a valid liturgy, and I'd be a little skeptical of it without knowing more.
Understood. Thanks. I appreciate the answer. And to quickly change, Sai, I read your book. Very good job. I thought it was better than Joe's. So thanks.
Daniel, you are my hero, Daniel.
Can we block numbers? Is that possible?
We are not blocking that number. Daniel is on permanent speed dial. He dials, he gets right in. I'll tell you what, Daniel, we do want to give you a book, and thank you for reading my book. I appreciate the kind words as well. I really do. But we've got lots of books, and we'll give you one. Just tell Edgar which book you'd like, because Chris Check said, because it's Gordon Hayward Day here on Catholic Answers Live, we're giving a free book to everybody. So hang on and get your free book. The number is 888-318-7884. I think I have to go to a break. Is that correct, Darren? Do I have to go to a break? Okay, we'll take a break. We'll be right back with more Joe Heschmeyer on Catholic Answers Live.
Hang on. We'll be right back with more Catholic Answers Live.
The Catechism defines evangelization as the proclamation of Christ and his gospel by word and the testimony of life. But what does that look like in real life? It looks like St. Paul street evangelists out in the public square sharing the good news. We're a Catholic nonprofit that starts conversations by handing out free sacramentals. Then we employ our method of listen, befriend, proclaim, and invite. Catholic Answers is supported in part by St. Paul Street Evangelization. Visit streetevangelization.com to learn more.
This is Jim Pinto, Director of EWTN Media Missionaries. EWTN's mission is to spread the eternal word and to teach others that Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life. You can help EWTN share the good news by becoming a media missionary. Visit EWTNmissionaries.com today and join us in sharing the eternal word with the world.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. We're in the middle of Gordon Hayward Week here at Catholic Answers. Joe Heschmeyer is our guest. And the number is 888-318-7884. You can ask whatever you want. And every single line is full. But I'm not going to ask you to wait on the phones again, because we got another person who came into the studio. And that's what happens in the summertime around here. We get lots of visitors in the summertime, and that's one of the great things about working here. And up next is Dan from Wisconsin, Madison, Wisconsin. Welcome, Dan.
Welcome. Thanks, Cy.
I heard an interesting story about you. Am I allowed to share that on the air or no?
Sure.
You are a lawyer.
Yes, sir.
Practiced law for decades.
35 years.
35 years. But have a call to the priesthood now, and you're studying to be a priest.
Late vocation, yeah. Just started Configuration 2 in seminary.
Wow. So will you do seminary with the younger guys, or do they have a late vote? What do they call it? I don't know.
They have special seminaries for later vocations, but my bishop has me at St. Francis de Sales Seminary in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, with the young guys. So I'm the oldest at 63 with all the 23-year-olds. So it's fun.
This might be the hardest time of your ministry, of your life of ministry. I don't know. But you find it fun.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
that's great.
It keeps you young.
Well, God bless you. That's how beautiful to answer the call late in life. So if you continue your studies at the rate you are going now, when would you expect to be ordained?
May of 2028, get ordained.
May of 2028. Okay.
And then we'll see what's next in terms of canon law. Might be.
I'm just going to throw this out there. We need a chaplain. So you do whatever you want with that information.
We'll talk off air.
We don't currently have a chaplain. All right, you got a question for Joe?
I do. Joe, my question has to do with AI, and Pope Leo picked the name Leo based on Leo XIII and the Industrial Revolution and trying to protect the dignity of the human being with the Industrial Revolution. He picks the name Leo with the next revolution basically being AI. And I'm just wondering your thoughts with regards to that intersection between AI and the church. Should the church have a position? If so, what its position should be? Because everyone seems to be going to AI. It's growing by leaps and bounds. It's becoming, some people say the new God. It's got all the answers. It's doing all these great things. You can get on it and it gives you all this great advice. And human beings have a body and a soul. AI has just intellect. It's a machine. There's no soul, no morals, no
true intellect even.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering what your views are on that.
Yeah, I guess I'd say a couple things. One, the name artificial intelligence means different things to different people, and we should be aware of this, that the word artificial can mean either fake or it can mean man-made. Like if you have, artificial gold or something like that, that doesn't mean like you've created gold. It means that you've faked it. And so when we talk about artificial intelligence, some people think it's man-made intelligence. Other people realize it's fake intelligence. And so you can find AI doing these extraordinary things, but they're often baffling and make no sense intellectually. For instance, you can do a search term and it'll give you very convincing sounding results that turn out to be completely fictional. And it's not lying. It doesn't know the difference between truth and falsehood. There's a famous thought experiment called the Chinese room experiment by, I believe, Searle. And it says, imagine you're in a room where you have a guidebook with instructions. And somebody passes a note in Chinese under the door. And you can't read Chinese, but the book tells you, if they say this, you say that. And so you just fill out, the response and you slide it back under the door. Now, to the person on the other side, you've carried on a completely coherent, reasonable, right on the money kind of conversation, but you haven't really. You have no idea what you've said and done. AI is something like that. It has an incredibly complicated set of text prediction tools. So if you've ever used text prediction on your phone where you start to type a word and it guesses that word and then it guesses the next word, what AI is actually doing is an astonishingly advanced version of that. That's not intelligence. That's text prediction, where in a million cases where someone said X, 600,000 they wanted Y, 300,000 they wanted Z, and then the rest of the cases are too complicated. So you can do that kind of thing, and it guesses what the result you're looking for is based on prior input. That's all AI is doing. Now, it's doing that at this astonishing rate, but it doesn't have the ability to think for itself. It has the ability to pretend to think for itself, although even saying pretending is giving more agency to the machines than it deserves. Now, AI can be an extremely helpful tool, but Pope Francis described it as that. It is a tool, and the more you recognize it as a tool and not a distinct intelligence, the more you understand how to use it, because tools are these things that can be incredibly helpful or incredibly dangerous. The creation of factories in the Industrial Revolution, where you have these large machines, that is incredibly helpful in some ways. It's also really destabilizing and disruptive and destructive in other ways. Or having a smartphone, that's a tool. It's a tool that can help you in some ways, and it's a tool that can hurt you in some ways. So we should evaluate AI and all new technology through the lens of this is a tool, and how do we make sense and how do we make the best use of that tool? And that might be very limited use or just saying we can't use it at all, or it might be having good ethical parameters to use it wisely. Now, if I can give you two documents, one of them is Pope Leo's message to participants in the second annual conference on artificial intelligence, ethics, and corporate governance from June of this year. It's June 2nd, 2025. And the other is a document from the DDF, formerly the CDF, called Antiqua et Nova, the ancient and new. And it's all about the relationship between artificial intelligence and human intelligence.
Great.
A lot of us are going to be replaced by AI, but you're not. Well, you can't be. A priest can't be replaced by AI.
And what Joe brings up in terms of
we know
tools,
that deeply.
Wait, say that again?
I said we know that deeply here at Catholic Answers.
Father. We tried to create an AI priest once. It wasn't very popular.
But like a lot of priests, they'll use AI to help on a homily. And
it's true.
Oh, yeah. And, it's what you talk about.
I would just say fact check everything you hear from AI. I will often use it, if there is some question where it's like some random apologetics question, I'll often put it into ChatGPT and say, is there a patristic source that talks about X? Or does the Catechism talk about Y? And then read what it says and ask for sources, but then go and look to see if those sources really exist. And I'd say about 80% of the time they do, but about 20% of the time it seems to just be completely making up these real sounding quotes. It's very alarming.
I had it invent a quote for Pope Paul VI for me. I knew that there was this quote in a document Paul VI wrote. I asked it for the quote. It gave me the quote, and it didn't look quite right. But what it had done was synthesize a quote that sounded like what Paul VI had said. I was like, that's the weirdest thing ever. Like, it took like 3 different sentences and kind of condensed them down into one. And it said, in this document, Paul VI said this. I was like, I don't think he did. And he didn't. The machine just kind of, threw something together for me.
There have been some pretty wild examples. My brother and I will send screenshots back and forth where we try to get it to do that, to hallucinate crazy answers. Yeah. And we've gotten some good results that way. But it just shows there's some real limitations to the tool. That'll get somewhat better over time. And some of the other things like displacing skilled workers and all of that are things we're going to have to be very thoughtful about.
I do want it to replace drivers, though. I want it to replace me as a driver. I think everyone would be better off, especially me, if my car would drive itself and I would just say things to it like, go to Catholic Answers. And then it would just take me there. Like,
unless it hallucinates and is just like...
That's the thing is, you don't know where it's going to take you. Right?
Let me synthesize. What's the end point in between all the different apologists? You end up in Utah somewhere.
Yeah, right. Exactly, right. Come on with... What do you think about AI? Why are you worried about it?
Well, as a data mining tool, as Joe said, okay, that's great as a data mining tool, but when it starts moving into the world of trying to give advice, or where people are looking at it for answers more than just a data mining tool, it doesn't have, there's no morality, there's no faith system behind it, and so you don't know what you're getting. It's just, and when it starts talking about, you're asking about this, here's statistically, go ahead and have an abortion because the pros and cons. Based on that.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait a minute.
Right, that's like a magic 8 ball then,
where
really.
are you going? Where are you going?
Right.
And so the building in guardrails that way, or at least, on cigarette packages, you get a warning. This
AI needs a warning, maybe.
Something.
Yeah.
And it tries to tell you what you want to hear as well.
Yeah.
And so in that sense, it can be an incredibly dangerous tool for leading people further into the wrong opinions.
But that's why I always ask it, am I handsome? Every morning, I just start by, AI, am I handsome? And then it tells me what I want to hear. I have a big problem with AI because I think it's theft. I think most of it is just stealing.
Well, certainly the image generation stuff is, but the little AI summaries of news articles are the theft of.
It's straight up theft.
It is an existential threat to journalism.
Yeah. Dan, thanks very much for coming in.
Thank you.
And God bless you as you work your way through seminary.
Thank you.
Joe Heschmeyer is our guest, and you are going to come back for another hour, right, Joe?
I am. I know there's a lot of people on the line, so please bear with us, and we'll try to get you top of the hour.
We only got one guy left in studio, and I don't think he's coming in here, so we'll actually get to the phone calls when we come back. Joe, what month is it?
It's the month of Hayward.
Yes, it's Gordon Hayward month here at
Gordon Hayward.
Catholic Answers. We'll be right back with more Ask Me Anything with Joe Heschmeyer right after this on Catholic Answers Live. Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. It's been so busy here, Jordan Hayward Day here at Catholic Answers, that I have forgotten to...
Day or month?
Year. Gordon Hayward year. 2025. Okay. Gordon Hayward year here at Catholic Answers. Everybody else is treating it as the Jubilee year, but we're treating it as Gordon Hayward year here. 888-318-7884 is the number, but I have to just read this. Joe spoke on the opening night of the 2024 Annual Apologetics Conference. Learn from me the parable, sermons, and conversations of Jesus Christ. Scott Hahn was there. Kimberly Hahn was there. Father Sebastian Walsh was there. Billy Junker. Here's the game that we're going to play today. We want to give away an audible version of Joe's bestseller, Pope Peter. And so we have to ask you, what was unusual about Joe's appearance that night? So if you're on the line, and folks on the line are usually listening to the show, sometimes doing other things. But if you're on the line and you're listening, the first one who says what was exceptional about Joe's appearance at last year's annual apologetics conference, where he gave the opening talk, you will win the audio version of Pope Peter. Did you do the audio yourself, Joe?
On Pope Peter, I did.
Yeah, you did. Okay, so that's what you're getting. You're getting Joe audio version of his own book, Pope Peter. I don't know who put that picture on my sheet. I can't. I was trying to do a radio program here. What are you people doing? Look, Joe's wearing a shirt that I thought looked like he was one of the Beach Boys. Somebody found a picture and they put.
I did.
Oh, you put that on there, Joe? You're messing me up, man.
And Google Images found them wearing my exact shirt.
They're wearing
now,
the exact shirt that you're wearing.
They're trying to look like me.
No, that's 1960. 1960 when they took that picture. They are not trying to look like you 65 years later. All right.
A lot of musicians were visionaries.
Yeah. All right,
I hear this all the time.
Let's go to Michael in Tucson, Arizona. Watch it on YouTube. Michael, thank you for waiting. Go ahead with your question for Joe.
Yeah, hey guys, how you doing? Thanks for taking my call.
Happy to.
Let me just start by saying, after the last segment, I now have an image stuck in my brain of Cy waking up in the morning, throwing off the covers and saying AI on the wall. And now I got to kind of.
He would still be better than Gal Gadot.
That's oh, that was mean. That was mean.
Yeah, that was mean.
I am a huge fan of Gal Gadot, but I never saw that movie. So I don't. Did your children make you watch that movie?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan.
What?
I think she's great at everything except acting and singing.
Oh God.
I wanted to have a comeback, but I have no comeback for that. This is a lovely person, and you're picking on her.
She seems like a lovely person. I know a lot of lovely people I would not go to see in movies, but neither here nor there.
Michael, I'm sorry. Go ahead with your question to the mean Joe Heschmeyer.
Oh no, that's all right. Let me just set this up by saying the last 8 months for me in the church have been kind of difficult since Pope Francis put the final document of the Synod of Synodality into the ordinary magisterium. And a couple of days ago, they released. I have problems with intellectually assenting to what's in there because I have concerns with some of what's in it. So I'm like, I'll wait until I hear more about what they're going to say about it. And a couple of days ago, they released the implementation plan for it, and I read it critically, and I cannot intellectually assent to anything that's in it, and I need to know if I can still be Catholic. Anything, nothing in it.
Tell me more about that. That's a surprising stance to take on it.
It uses the word conversion of the church 16 times.
Okay.
I will not have my church converted by modernist heresy. I just can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, certainly if that's what it meant, that would be unacceptable. But do you think that's the most charitable read of what is being said there?
I try to be charitable in all things I do, and when I read the entire document as critically as I can, given who I am and what I know, and without guidance from somebody, I just can't bring myself to say yes to this.
Okay. Well, look, this is one of those things that's at the level of ordinary magisterium. It's not an infallible teaching document. And a lot of the things going on are just as it says. These are implementation strategies. And with an implementation strategy, there's a lot of room to disagree about the best way to do things. So take the entire situation with how do we handle the Latin Mass communities. And so you have different popes doing different things over time. And, For instance, Summorum Pontificum, Benedict XVI tried to create an avenue to allow a greater freedom to celebrate the traditional Latin Mass. And Pope Francis judged that a lot of that had failed to create the kind of harmony that he thought we should be seeing. And he's not dissenting from like magisterial teaching there. It's just a question about the best mechanism and the best practice. And so you'll have differences in papal leadership styles. And it's not the job of the laity or anyone else, number one, to figure out what the best leadership approach should be. I mean, thankfully, a lot of these things are not our problems to solve. But second, we also don't have to convince ourselves that every approach the church takes to tackling a problem is the smartest and the best approach to take to tackle the problem. So there's all sorts of ways that the implementation of a thing could go badly, even if the thing itself is true. So someone who believes, for instance, in the liturgical reforms of the Second Vatican Council could still acknowledge a lot of the ways they were implemented worked pretty badly and led to pretty bad results. I mean, objectively, you can see in many parishes a total kind of destruction that happens when these things are implemented poorly. And at times, there's maybe a lack of good, clear leadership about what proper implementation should look like. All of those things are permitted. So you want to maintain a good filial attitude. You want to maintain the good attitude of a son, but that doesn't mean you have to agree with don't put the burden on yourself of believing that you have to either intellectually agree with every step in an implementation plan or leave the church. Like, trust that the same God who has gotten us 2025, well, almost, I mean, assuming a starting date of year one, but in any case, gotten us basically 2,000 years through history is going to continue to get us through history. This is not going to be the make or break moment. It's not going to be what is the meaning of this word in a PDF on an implementation document. So don't let it trouble your heart too much would be what I would say. Like, try to have a good respect and a good obedience, but yeah, no one's asking you to become a modernist. No one's asking you to embrace heresy. And if anyone does ask you to do that, don't do that. Does that make sense? Does that give you enough of a sense of kind of a yeah,
go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, absolutely. But let me just be a little bit more clear. And I would like for you're an educated guy and you're a scholar and you can read the document the same way I can. And I'd really like to see you do a video on this at some point, right? To my mind, in the document, it states that they are moving the responsibility for the liturgy to the parish, removing it from the bishops, and destroying the diocesan structure of the Catholic Church.
I think that's not only not the case, but also kind of runs contrary to what we actually saw, which is in many cases there was a greater centralization of liturgical authority under Pope Francis. So, I mean, for instance, with the whole situation with Traditionis Custodes.
I don't know, and I just need some guidance. I'm just saying.
I
need some guidance.
I'd be happy to take a look at the document. I would say two things. Number one, there may be room for greater decentralization of liturgical questions, meaning away from having the Vatican determine everything on a universal scale to allow more breathing room for different rites in different places. There's a history of this, and it's a history that goes back centuries. Like you look at the period before the Council of Trent, for instance, all the different variations of the Roman Rite based on like where you were. Like you had the Gallic Rite, you had these other things where every country seemingly had its own version of the Mass. And that standardized a lot more at the Council of Trent, but they still preserved some of the more ancient ones. So like the Ambrosian Rite in Milan, they still celebrate the Mass differently than the rest of the world. So that's not actually an unprecedented thing to allow local variation on things that variation is allowed on. And it's often actually quite a beautiful thing. I don't think that's going to devolve to the local level where people just ignore their bishop, because the bishop actually has canonically and theologically authority over liturgical matters in his diocese, not to the exclusion of the Pope, but he has an actual duty that if the liturgy is being done badly in his diocese, he has, again, both the right and the duty to intervene and do something about it.
Thank you.
All right,
Yeah,
Michael.
you bet.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the call. Hang on. We want to give you a free book because it's Gordon Hayward Day here at Catholic Answers. If you'd like a free book, just tell Edgar which of the Catholic Answers books that you would like to have. The number is 888-318-7884. Right back with more Ask Me Anything with Joe Heschmeyer on Catholic Answers Live.
Stay with us for more Catholic Answers Live.
Underwriting for Catholic Answers Live is provided by Magnificat. Published monthly, Magnificat features texts of daily Mass, prayers, articles, meditations, art commentaries, and more, in step with the liturgical rhythm of the Church, on the web at magnificat.com.
The most original and exclusive Catholic content is on EWTN Radio.
You know, we talk story with each of our very unique guests for the whole hour, so that you can go deep with us as you yourself pursue your own story of heroic virtue and as you pursue intimacy with God.
The Bear Wozniak Adventure, Saturday night, 6 Eastern on EWTN Radio.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. Anybody who calls and answers this question, what was exceptional about Joe Heschmeyer's attire when he spoke at last year's Catholic Answers Conference, you get a free copy of Joe's bestseller, Pope Peter, in the audio format. You get the audiobook. 888-318-7884 is the number. Roman is in San Antonio, Texas, listening on Guadalupe Radio. Roman, welcome. Do you know what?
Howdy, guys.
Do you have any idea what was exceptional about Joe's outfit?
Unfortunately, I do not.
That's all right. You got a question for Joe?
Yeah, so I'm a recent Franciscan University graduate, so I had really good theology, really good philosophy, and no objections with this question, but I have a really hard time with explaining why marriage is between a man and a woman. Like, I get it, just don't ask me to explain it, because that I cannot do, especially to Protestants or secular people.
Okay. Well,
Gotcha.
I would start with, if you're talking with Protestants, if you're talking with people who accept the authority of Scripture, you can point to things like Genesis, where the two become one, man and woman. And it's very clear from Jesus' own teaching that marriage is between a man and a woman. But if you're making the argument from just reason alone to someone who is secular, I would start with asking, well, what is marriage? So maybe I'll just ask you that. Why does marriage exist in the first place?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot in front of my wife, and she's just looking at me.
Because you love her. Just say that. Just say, because I love her.
Because I love her,
yes.
We become one, and a lot of other things.
Joe?
Yes. Yeah. So historically, we talk about three ends or purposes of marriage. The first one is procreation and the education of children. That man and woman, and uniquely man and woman, man and woman, this isn't going to be true of. When man and woman engage in certain actions together, children can be formed. And this is where the human race comes from in every successive generation. And forming a child properly takes a lot more than however long that action takes. You have a couple decades, basically, worth of work left to do. And it's really good and really important that both parents stick around for that. And because only one of them actually gets pregnant, it's pretty easy for one of them to, get lost on his way to get milk from the store. And so marriage exists first and foremost as a practical level, so that when children are brought into this world, they're brought into the world in a loving and stable union with a husband and wife who love each other, a mother and father who can model masculinity and femininity and teach them all these things, and two parents to love them and take care of them and protect them. That's the first purpose of marriage, and it's innately heterosexual at a biological level. Second is the unitive purpose of marriage, that the two become one. Is partly even if you never have any kids, you and your wife live out something special in marriage. And you can look at this at a bodily, biological level. You have a respiratory system. What is that for?
Breathing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have a circulatory system. What is that for?
Blood.
Circulation of blood. Yeah. And your reproductive system, what is that for? Well, it partly points to that first purpose, reproduction. It's right there in the name. And that points to heterosexuality. But the second thing we notice is, unlike the respiratory system, you've got a complete respiratory system, I assume. You have a complete circulatory system. You have half of a reproductive system. And your wife has the other half. And no man on earth could offer the other half of that reproductive system. And so the two of you, when you are united, your two bodies together work in tandem to create a new human being. And that is one of the ways, the two become one and the two become three. And this, again, is innately heterosexual. Only a man and woman can do that. No law on earth can change this basic reality. Now, as Christians, we would recognize a third purpose of marriage as well, which is that it is a sacramental sign of the union of Christ and the church. But again, Christ is the bridegroom and the church is the bride. And so the gendered nature of that is already built into the reality of the thing. Does this make sense?
Yeah, I mean, overall, yes. And just thank you, Mr. Heschmeyer.
Hey, can I give you a recommendation for a good resource to check out? Pope Pius XI has an encyclical called Casti Connubii, Casticonnubii, where he talks about Christian marriage. And it talks about those three purposes of marriage. This is from like 1930. And I think there's just something so bracingly clear about this at a time when he's not responding to many of the modern challenges because those haven't really been introduced yet. He's writing in this incredible moment, kind of a precipice moment, because this year, 1930, the Anglicans and the Lambeth Conference had just permitted contraception for the first time between husband and wife under certain circumstances. And this was a radical shift in Christian teaching. And Pius recognized that this was going to destroy the family and destroy sexuality. And he was right, it did. So that would be a good document to read, to just see what a healthier view of sexuality looks like.
Roman, if you'll hang on, we'll send you a book. We would love to send you a book on Gordon Hayward Day here at Catholic Answers Live. Thank you very much for the call and for the question. I'm going to go as quick as I can now to John in Oklahoma, listening to EWTN on Channel 130, Sirius XM Satellite Radio. John, welcome. Go ahead with your question for Joe Heschmeyer.
Hey there, Cy. You and Edgar could never be replaced by AI, just to let you know.
Wait, not even Edgar?
Oh,
wow.
No, you can't replace Edgar. He is, Edgar's awesome.
Oh, he's so happy right now. I'm looking over at him. He's so happy that you said that. Thank you very much. Thanks for saying that.
Hey, before I ask my question, I need everybody to do me a favor. My Bishop Coakley here in Oklahoma and the Bishop from Gallup, New Mexico, Wall, are out walking the Camino. And if everybody could keep them in their prayers while they're out there doing that.
Oh, beautiful. Wonderful bishops.
Yeah.
That's
very glad you said that.
Yeah.
Your Bishop Coakley is a KU grad, University of Kansas. Just letting everybody know. Archbishop Coakley.
I had to put that in there.
Yep.
Now, my question for Joe is, Joe, at what point and what was the purpose in all food or all animals being declared clean to eat?
So the first thing to understand is why they were originally not clean to eat. And it didn't mean sinful. It did mean like ritually impure. That this is part of this whole Jewish system of categorizing the world. And so things fit neatly into a box and they're okay, or they don't fit neatly into a box and they're not okay. So if you look at the things that are unclean, a lot of them are things that don't fit neatly into a taxonomy. So like shrimp is forbidden, but fish is okay. Fish, we know what it is. Shrimp's kind of like a fish, kind of like a bug. That's not acceptable. And if you want like a cotton shirt, that's great. If you want a mixed blend shirt with two different fabrics, that's not acceptable. And this is based on this Jewish concept of holiness. That holiness means purity, meaning entirely devoted to one thing. And this was to teach people to just approach every part of their life by doing it perfectly purely. Where if you're going to do one thing, do one thing. If you're going to eat meat, eat meat. If you're going to eat fish, don't mix the two. Don't put milk and meat on the same dish. Those kind of things, because you're blending. Don't do two things half-heartedly. Do one thing wholeheartedly. And this preparation in every aspect, food and clothes and everything else, is to prepare them for this radical mission they have to be monotheists when they're surrounded by pagans who say anything goes. And is to teach them not to just take this blend and mix and accept everything kind of attitude. So that's why it's happening in the first place. That purpose is ultimately oriented towards the Messiah coming in to save the world. That they are the heralds of all of what St. Paul calls the oracles of God, the Old Testament scriptures, and this message that there is only one God and that he's sending a Messiah. And Jesus comes into the world and fulfills all of this. So he then does two things. In Mark 7, he tells the people, do you not see that whatever goes into a man from outside cannot defile him, since it enters not his heart but his stomach and so passes on? In other words, he explains that whole system of living was not because those things themselves were morally significant. That whole system of living was to train them so that their hearts could be wholeheartedly for God, rather than that God really cared about, whether you had a 55-45 cotton polyester blend. And so Mark says in Mark 7, thus he declared all foods clean. Now, significantly, he doesn't explicitly declare all foods clean. He's just showing those kosher laws have now been fulfilled, because we get the point of them. Give your heart completely to God. Give your heart completely to the thing God has set you to do, and then eat what you will, because that's not what the question is about. But then they don't obviously understand this implication of Jesus' teaching. And so in Acts 10, Peter is told in a dream, rise, Peter, kill and eat. With a whole picnic blanket. It's this sheet, but I envision a picnic blanket full of different meats. It's a God-given dream. It sounds amazing. And Peter says, no, Lord, for I've never eaten anything that is common or unclean. And then he's told, what God has cleansed, you must not call common. And so they weren't getting Jesus' teaching in Mark 7, and so it's spelled out very explicitly in Acts 10. And this is connected to opening the doors of the church to the first Gentiles. Now, part of that's purely pragmatic. Peter the next day is going to be invited to the house of Cornelius, and he has to be able to go into the house and not be worried that he's going to be rendered ritually impure by his contact with this Gentile and whatever food he may be offered there and so on. But second, there's a close connection between these two things, because the whole Jewish approach of we've got to stay very pure and, cut off undue influence from the outside and everything else is good at avoiding sort of outside contamination of polytheism. But at a certain point, you do have to go out and evangelize the rest of the world. And so in Acts 10, we see you can't just stay huddled up, afraid of the world. You have to actually go out in the world and make disciples of all nations, including the Gentiles. And so you're going to have to be able to interact with the Gentiles. And to the extent these kosher laws were holding people back from that, God makes it very clear to stop letting these get in the way, because they no longer apply.
Okay.
Good. Okay, that explains it. Yeah.
Very good.
Good. Happy to hear it.
Well, I think you already heard that it's Gordon Hayward Day here at Catholic Answers, so we're giving away a free book to every caller. So all you have to do is hang on the line, and we will get that book to you. I'm going to go quickly to Jason in Virginia, listening on the EWTN app. Glad you're here, Jason. Do you want to try to answer our quiz question, or you want to go right to your question?
I have no idea what he was wearing.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Totally understandable.
Go ahead with your question.
So thank you so much for taking my call. I've been perturbed by this for a couple of years, and one of my friends who's a sociology major, social worker for even the mentally ill, said that she honestly thinks that people should be euthanized if they don't contribute to society, and it's really hit a nerve with me on a deep level in a dark way. And I know that the Catholic Church doesn't believe in euthanasia or suicide, and I just want to get not only the Catholic godly response, but maybe like an intellectual one as well. I know.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you know what I mean, like a.
I do.
Well, like, you know. Yeah.
Can I recommend a book for you?
Sure.
There's a short and I think very easily readable book called Eugenics and Other Evils by G.K. Chesterton. And it's from 1922. But he's warning against the evils of eugenics that we saw play out in World War II long before they happened. And I think a lot of the things he's warning about would be relevant today. So I hope that helps.
Jason, thanks. Hang on. We want to send you a free book if you'd like it. Our guest is Joe Heschmeyer. Our topic, whatever you got on your mind, it's Ask Me Anything, 888-318-7884. Have you ever wondered about the mysterious, even obscure aspects of the Catholic faith? Dive into the Jimmy Akin podcast, where Jimmy brings together information from many fields as he pushes the boundaries of apologetics. Tune in today to the Jimmy Akin podcast, Mysteries of the Faith, a highly entertaining, informative, and at times humorous show that will help you grow in your faith. Visit JimmyAkinPodcast.com today to subscribe.
Lots of people have big questions about Catholicism. It needs a big book of answers, and now it's got one. The Big Book of Catholic Answers is filled with helpful replies to more than 250 questions about the faith. Questions about God, salvation history, the Creed, the Bible, the list goes on and on. Order your copy of the Big Book of Catholic Answers today at shop.catholic.com or ask for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
What was the church like in its infancy? In a word, Catholic, and Joe Heschmeyer has the receipts. In his best-selling book, The Early Church Was the Catholic Church, he gives you the details from the historical records of the first 2 centuries of Christianity. Right now, get a copy for just $10, plus free shipping if you live in the continental United States. Get more information and order The Early Church Was the Catholic Church at theearlychurchwascatholic.com.
If you're not a Bible scholar, the full message of how the Sunday Mass readings fit together can be tough to comprehend. Apologist Carlo Broussard is here to help. Join Carlo every Friday for the Sunday Catholic Word podcast. In each episode, he unpacks the scripture readings for that Sunday and brings them all together so you can better understand and defend the faith. Visit SundayCatholicWord.com to subscribe. That's SundayCatholicWord.com.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. Joe Heschmeyer is our guest. It's Ask Me Anything. And Jason in Virginia was asking what the Catholic stance on eugenics is. And Joe and I both felt we didn't quite give Jason enough time. So I just wanted to see, Jason, if you wanted to do a follow-up question on what Joe had to say.
Sure. Like, I guess for anybody who's feeling, like, say, useless in like a utilitarian type of world, like, what would be your response to that situation where like somebody
I'm very glad you followed up, because I hadn't even understood that aspect of the question, and that's such an important aspect. First, you are not made to serve machines. Machines were made to serve us. And so the people acting like we're worthless if we can't operate machines to the satisfaction of the small handful of people who own the machines are doing something that is gravely evil against their neighbor, and they will stand judged by God for this. And that is worth stressing. Like, you are not your salary or your potential salary. You are not the number of hours that you can work in a week. And there are many reasons, things like personal illness and frailty and age and everything else, that can factor into why someone isn't as productive as they want to be. And your worth, your dignity is not and should not be wrapped up in any of that. That if you did nothing else, you are good, and God would not have made you if you were not good. Good in the sense that it is good that you exist. Good in the sense that God has a good plan for your life. You have to cooperate with that plan. But that plan doesn't turn on how many hours you can churn out products the way that the plan of the world does. That there is a deeply dehumanizing vision that the market and the world has of the human person. And it will crush all of us if we don't stand up to it and say, that's not where I find my value. That's not where I find my identity. I'm a son or a daughter of God. And whether I'm the greatest consumer or the greatest producer doesn't mean anything to me. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Good.
And I guess since you're giving away a free book today, maybe that book you recommended. I know that's
unfortunately I don't think we have that one in stock, but I'd be happy to recommend it, and I think you can actually get it for free. I want to see you can get it for free. Just Chesterton Eugenics, if you look that up. I see it is for free on Gutenberg. And so you can get it for free or cheap because it's like 100 years old now. So it shouldn't be. I think it's in the public domain.
Cool.
But hang on for your free book, Jason, because we would love to send you that. And thanks for hanging on and doing a follow-up with us. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right.
It looks like it's like $6 on Amazon if anyone wants to buy it. And I think it is a very there's a couple things in there where it's made it maybe a little dated, but I think it's surprisingly timely, which is unfortunate given the state of the world.
Good Lord, I know you would be, but no moral issue is ever finally resolved, is it? Generation after generation, same moral issues come back up again and again and again.
And unfortunately, it can seem that way for sure.
Joshua in Oklahoma, listening on 97.3 FM. Thank you very much, Joshua, for the call. Go ahead with the question for Joe. Oh, wait, did you want to answer our quiz question?
I don't know.
It makes me feel so much better about our listeners that they don't know about what you did at last year's conference, Joe.
In my defense, I am a revert from 10 years, so I had no clue what was going on with the church for 10 years. So,
well, this is one part of the life of the church you're glad you had no part of for those 10 years, Joshua. But, and I second what Joe said. Welcome back. Go ahead with your question for Joe.
Thank you. First of all, Joe, I love your YouTube series. I've recently got hooked onto it, so thank you so much for doing those. They're
thank you very much.
So I kind of ran into a conundrum at work this past week with my supervisor, who is a Protestant pastor. I don't know the denomination. I actually don't think there is one. I think it's just an independent church that he runs.
Okay.
And in passing, he made a comment saying that he refuses to submit to the authority of our manager, his manager, who is a female, because she is a female, quoting 1 Timothy 9.
I see.
And my brain goes, what? That doesn't make any logical sense. Because I know the context is way out of basis.
Yep.
But I don't know how to properly address this or even sorry, my brain's all confuddled right now.
No, it seems clear.
It seems perfectly clear. So 1 Timothy 2, St. Paul talks about men and women learning, and he says in a very particular liturgical context, I permit no woman to teach or to have authority over men. She is to keep silent. But this was never understood to literally mean women can't speak in church or something like this. There are certain roles that are reserved for men. This also has literally no bearing on your secular workforce and was never meant to. If you look at the context, that's just not what is being talked about at all. This whole section is in the passage that the RSV calls instructions concerning prayer. And part of what Paul is doing is trying to create more of a sense of order in what were often seemingly pretty raucous spiritual experiences in the early church. And so it's not saying like women are never allowed to lead anything. A good, example of this is women are given positions of leadership even in the home. Like, certainly they are to lead their children. Now, maybe once you turn 18, you miraculously just ignore your parents from now on. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, my first thought actually went to Our Lady,
yes.
and the miracle at Canaan when Jesus, it's not my time, and she goes, fix it, and he does.
Yeah, I mean, you are free to bring that up. I've heard some Protestants try to say that when he says, "Woman, what does this have to do with me? My hour has not yet come," that he is scolding Mary. Now, I think that's a bad read. One, because it misses the whole context of what's going on in John 1-2, without getting way in the rabbit hole. John 1 begins the same way as Genesis in the beginning, and then has a series of 6 days. The wedding feast is the 6th day. On the 6th day, you have the creation of woman, and it's at this point that he greets his mother as woman. He's not saying like, "Hey, lady," or something like that. And then second, if he was scolding her, saying, "Don't ask for anything," pretty strange that he then does the miracle she's asking for. Like that read just seems to be colored more by a hostility to Mary and maybe a hostility to women than it does by an actual faithful reading of Scripture. So really, I think you have two things going on here. One, you've got this potentially like job-ending refusal to obey one's legitimate superiors. And you can go through history and find cases where God does put women in positions of authority. So go back to the Old Testament, to Judges, for example, and you have Deborah. And so we know there are times where, in a secular setting, women are called to lead. And if somebody who was under their service, rather than submitting to their leadership, said, "Oh, no, you're a lady, I'm not going to submit to you," that's not the actual Christian response. It's not the actual biblical response at all. So that's one issue. The second issue is, it sounds like this guy is accountable to no one in his interpretations of the Bible. And so it's just kind of like, Christianity is whatever he says it is. That's a very modern and very destructive theological idea. And it's worth pressing him on that too, because that, I think, is actually the thing behind everything else. If he's the pope of his own religion, and he doesn't have infallibility pretty clearly here, that's going to spell disaster in a bunch of different ways in his life. And so figuring out, like, okay, where in the Bible do we see everybody just doing this, forming their own churches and all that? And the answer is nowhere. That's not done. And when people do split off from the people of God and try to offer their own worship, like with Korah in Numbers 15, he creates a schism in the church, or in the, in Israel. And so God responds by opening up the earth, creating a literal schism, and Korah and his followers are sucked into the earth and killed. And the point there is, like, we're not to act like Korah, and we're not to act like those who think we can just break away from the church given to us by God. And we're told that actually explicitly in Jude 1:11. So I would say to that, like, you want to address both things, a particular issue, but then also this broader issue where it's not just that he won't submit to the authority of a woman, seemingly won't submit to the authority of anybody. And that rebelliousness is called out explicitly in the Epistle of Jude and in 2 Peter 2.
The funny thing about this whole situation is that he is the one who trained me when I first started working in this company a year ago, which is actually when I started my move back into the church. And I actually have to prompt him because he attacked. He found out that I was a Catholic, or had been a Catholic, and then I had been in seminary, and so he just started attacking. Well, why do y'all believe this? Why do y'all believe that? And it was like nothing these answers just flowed out of me. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Beautiful.
And it was really because of that. Like, I really started, like, I need to come back home.
Yes. That's wonderful. Well, I'm glad. It seems like he's pricked your conscience in a good way. And maybe you can repay him the favor by helping him to see the light a little more.
I'll tell you what
that was kind of the hope.
Yes, and it's a well-founded hope, I think. It is a well-founded hope. The Holy Spirit is moving. I'll tell you what, Joshua, I'd like to send you the big book of Catholic answers, lots and lots of answers to all kinds of challenges to the Catholic faith. And we'll send you another book too, because everybody's getting a free book today because it's Gordon Hayward Day here at Catholic Answers. But I want to add the big book.
I hope he's listening to this and is totally mystified.
Like, why are we having Gordon Hayward Day at Catholic Answers? Because Joe Heschmeyer's on. But in other words, what I would like for you to have, Joshua, is the big book of Catholic Answers and any other Catholic Answers book you would like. I got to take a break. Right back with more Ask Me Anything with Joe Heschmeyer on Catholic Answers Live.
You're listening to Catholic Answers Live.
Underwriting for Catholic Answers Live is provided by Real Estate for Life. Real Estate for Life connects homebuyers and sellers to real estate agents while supporting pro-life organizations. On the web at realestateforlife.org.
Mother Angelica had a simple goal when she began EWTN: to reach the world with the gospel message. EWTN Radio broadcasts 24/7 on smart speakers, a worldwide shortwave radio service, and radio services for the Philippines, Great Britain, and Ireland. We've never wavered from our mandate to proclaim the truth and majesty of the Catholic faith. Thank you for joining EWTN in this mission.
Who was the first Catholic in your family? Were they evangelized by a friend, a coworker, a stranger? Did you ever think that you could be that person that God uses to save a soul? And that soul could save their family, their grandchildren, and generations to come. At St. Paul Street Evangelization, a Catholic nonprofit, we train, equip, and mobilize Catholic disciples to do the urgent work of evangelization. Catholic Answers is supported in part by St. Paul Street Evangelization, streetevangelization.com.
Joe Heschmeyer is our guest. Joe's book, Pope Peter, is now out in audiobook format. That's why we're giving away a free copy of the audiobook version of Pope Peter to anyone who can answer our quiz question for today, which is, what was unusual about Joe's attire at last year's Catholic Answers conference when he gave the opening address? If you know the answer, call up and we'll give you a free copy of Pope Peter, the audio version. The new audio version that is out now, read by himself, Joe Heschmeyer. Yes. Let us go to Tennessee now, where Lad is watching on YouTube. Always nice to get to go to Tennessee. Hey, Lad, got a question for Joe?
Yes, thanks, Si. I have been, well, I'm a convert and came into the church in April, and I've talked to you a couple of times.
Oh, well, God bless you. Came into the church in April.
Yeah, welcome home.
Yeah. And I actually was able to get a question answered while you were gone away. So I think it was last week on your anniversary. But anyway,
man, you do listen. What do we call it? Liberation.
Liberation Day.
When I leave, it's called Liberation Day. Oh, yeah. All right. So
just so you'll know, I do have your book, Si.
Well, that makes me feel better about the fact that you enjoy the show more when I'm not here. So at least that makes me feel better.
Well, no, I just had a good question answered by Joe.
Okay. Okay. All right.
But this question is about the year of Jubilee. How do we go about? I mean, I'm not able to travel to Rome, obviously, unexpectedly. But I am able to go to sites around, for example, in Tennessee, and we do have several places that have been designated as places for Jubilee year. And my goal is to visit at least 7. I read something about if you go to 7 and you get participate in the Eucharist and have a devotion there, that 7, what's good? I don't know. I can't remember exactly what I read.
Well, that is a long tradition. The 7 churches of Rome, the 7 major basilicas of Rome.
Okay.
That's a long. That goes back to Saint Philip Neri.
That makes very good sense. So my question is about the indulgence. What exactly is the difference in a partial indulgence and a plenary indulgence, or what is? Help me understand.
Sure, absolutely.
Go ahead, Joe.
A little better.
So it's the difference between having less time in purgatory and having no further time in purgatory. Plenary just means complete.
Right.
So I don't want to say like a prison sentence being completely commuted versus partially, reduced, but that at least helps express the idea, I think, neatly. So the things that you're looking for is there's the indulgence act, the thing that you're being encouraged to do. So in the case of a pilgrimage, making a visit to any of the 4 major basilicas in Rome, and several other churches in Rome also meet this. You only have to go to one of them. You don't have to go to like every church in Rome. Outside of Rome and outside the Holy Land, it just says by visiting the cathedral or other church or sacred place designated by the local ordinary. That means the bishop. Bishops are to take into account the needs of the faithful as well as the opportunity to reinforce the concept of pilgrimage with all its symbolic significance so as to manifest a great need for conversion and reconciliation. So it should actually be like a special event. It isn't like, I'm on my way to go get coffee, but I'm driving by the cathedral, might as well duck in. It should have a greater significance than that. But in terms of just the validity of the thing. Yeah, go ahead.
So my plan, we have three dioceses here in Tennessee, Knoxville, Nashville, and the Memphis. And I was planning to visit each cathedral. Of course, I live closer to the Nashville. But we also have a minor basilica in Chattanooga, and I would like to go there also. For a
I would
trip there,
check the parish or the diocesan website to see if it's connected with like the official. I mean, it's not bad to do either way. But in terms of just knowing if you can receive an indulgence for it. Now, typically you're allowed to receive 1 indulgence per day. In the case of the Jubilee year, an indulgence is for those who've already died. You can actually receive 2 in a day if you go to Mass twice or if you receive communion twice in the same day. So in addition to going to the church, you also need sacramental confession within a reasonable span of time before or after. You need to receive Holy Communion. You need to pray for the intentions of the Pope. And then the tricky one is you need to be free from attachment to sin. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't have what's called concupiscence, a desire for sin. It means that you're not giving into that desire for sin at all. If you are still struggling with that last part, you're still going to receive a partial indulgence. The fact that you're trying, God is going to reward that. But you want to strive to just say, like, I don't actually want to let any sin in the door. And so even if I know I'm going to fail that, I am striving to be free of attachments to any sin, large or small. That, if you can do those things, that's what you do to get a plenary indulgence. And so, if you wanted to go on back-to-back days to each of those cathedrals or, maybe different weeks or whatever else, that's a marvelous way of getting to experience pilgrimage and doing some real good spiritual work as well.
Well, I thank you. I have been trying to go to confession quite often because since I've converted from Protestantism, I've just been really aware of everything. And it's been about 3 years. So
and that's actually, I think that's a good thing, you know?
Yeah. I have found that in those times of my life when I have been regular and frequent in confession, that makes you more aware. You have a greater awareness of your sinfulness and your need for God's mercy. Have you found that, lad?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Are you going to drive to these churches, or will you take the train to Chattanooga?
Oh, yeah. See, since I live in the middle of the state, I'm able to get to, I will probably, when I go to Memphis, because we have a Marian shrine actually in Memphis, and to that cathedral, I will probably go and spend the night and, like you were saying, do 2, one day and one the next.
Wonderful.
But I can drive to Chattanooga. I can drive to Chattanooga and Knoxville and come back. It'll be a long day, but I can do it.
You probably heard that we're giving away free books to everybody because it's Gordon Hayward Day here at Catholic Answers. So if you want to just hang on the line, I'm going to keep going because I'm realizing I've got more Tennesseans to get to. We actually have more Tennesseans to get to. So I'm going to keep moving. Lad, thank you for the call. Hang on to get your free book. Dan's in Nashville, Tennessee, watching on YouTube. Dan, welcome. Do you know our quiz question answer?
I hope so.
Yeah.
He was wearing a Baroque outfit last year.
Go for Baroque.
Super Baroque. Yes.
Super
yeah,
Baroque.
It Baroqued the internet.
And I even got a chance to ask a question. So yeah, we were there last year.
All right. Oh, that's very good. All right, so you're going to get Joe's best-selling book, Pope Peter, the audio book version. You'll also get another book before you go, but so we get you an answer. Go ahead with your question.
Yeah, so I've had this concept for quite some time that everything that's happened from the beginning of time to now and to the end, this is all by design. I mean, everything from the fall of Adam to everything that's happened. And it was reinforced at, I guess for once I actually tried to listen to the Exsultet. And there's a certain line in there when they were talking about Adam and they say, oh, necessary sin. And, once again, that just sort of reinforces that, without the fall of Adam, you really didn't need Jesus. So I just sort of want to get your take on this and see what you had to say.
Yeah, that is it's a profound line because what is kind of meant by that is a bit of a debate. And whether Christ would have come into the world if Adam and Eve had not sinned is something that great theologians and saints in the church have disagreed on. And so St. Thomas Aquinas pretty famously says sin was necessary for Christ to become incarnate in the sense that Christ came into the world to resolve the problem of sin. And so if there'd been no problem of sin, he wouldn't have come into the world. But you'll have others, usually from more like the Franciscan saints and theologians, who will say one of the things God's wanting to do is create union with us. This depth of union that's called divinization or theosis, that God became man that man might become God, is a kind of shocking way that the early Christians describe it, that we are to be, as St. Peter says, partakers of the divine nature. And so the second view says, well, maybe he still would have come into the world in order to have that kind of union with us, even if there wasn't this other problem of sin that had to be dealt with. And so in the end, it's a little bit of a counterfactual. If you think about it this way, like if one of your kids drops a glass and you go into the kitchen, you might have been planning to go in the kitchen anyway. We don't know that. We do know that you, in fact, came into the kitchen because the glass was dropped. So someone who's very excited to see you would be like, although I'm sad about the glass, I'm happy that it caused you to come into the kitchen. So likewise with sin. Sin causes Christ to come into the world. Maybe he was going to do it anyway. We don't know. But we know that it is in response to sin that Christ comes into the world. The first prophecy of the incarnation is given in Genesis 3:15, immediately following the fall. And we know as well that we can't take that to just say, well, why not just sin? If sin brings about grace, why not just sin? Well, St. Paul says if you say that, your condemnation is just. So, Romans 6:1, he warns, what shall we say then? Are we to continue in sin that grace may abound? By no means. So don't take this to mean like sin is good or okay, but simply that every time sin exists, God permits it only because he can draw greater good out of it. There's more divine grace available in response to sin. And if that weren't the case, he would never permit it to happen in the first place.
Okay, Dan?
Yeah. Yeah. Along the same lines, the other thing that I've always thought is, I've heard is that truly we only learn by suffering and by the failing and stuff. And so, if we went straight to heaven, we would never appreciate what we're going to have when it comes. And like I said,
there are aspects of God's nature, like his mercy, that we only know because of our experience with sin.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you.
I do think I would enjoy heaven either way, Dan. I really do. Any way I can get there, I think I'm going to be okay if I get there. Hang on, we're going to send you the audiobook of Pope Peter.
If I can give a quick shout out, Jonathan had a question about biblically accurate angels.
Yes.
Those images are coming from Ezekiel 1, from Daniel 10, from Isaiah 6. It's just like the eyes upon eyes and eyes on a wheel and all this stuff. People on the internet are having fun visualizing that and realizing how much scarier they are than the usual paintings of angels that you see.
Jonathan, calling from America's very best beach town, we'll be happy to give you a free book, too. I'm sorry we weren't able to get you on the air, but hang on, we'll give you a book to celebrate Gordon Hayward Day. Our guest has been Joe Heschmeyer. His much-praised book is The Eucharist is Really Jesus, and he's got a whole bunch of great books. Joe, thank you. I always enjoy the hours with you.
My pleasure.
And it wasn't flannel panel today. You did right.
It was Beach Boys Day.
See you next time, God willing, right here on Catholic Answers Live.